So, Coach, can you just talk a little bit about, what did you say to the guys on the bus ride, after that first Wyoming match last weekend to get, it was off to a little bit of a rough start, but the way that they bounced back, in the second portion of the weekend action, winning, I think, 14 of the next 20 matches, and then obviously getting the two big team wins there. What did you kind of say to them, in between on that traveling to the second venue?
Well, we spoke right after in the locker room. I just thought, we dropped a match that we could have won, and that's frustrating. We lost a couple close matches, obviously, in overtime one at 74. We lost a real close match in the last seconds at 97. And, there were just a lot of tight bouts that we lost. And, you can't do that when, you have two equal teams. We needed those wins. And, I just thought we could have won that match.
Next question from Kevin.
Coach, can you take us through the different format, a little bit of the Cowboy Challenge coming up? It looks like this will give you, kind of a little bit more of a tournament feel. How different is that from mid-season, and do you like that kind of break in the schedule?
I do, just because, we've only had duels, so it'll be, I think it's a real small type thing where you have an 8-man bracket. For instance, we're going to bring, a couple guys at different weights. So I think total of 14 guys. It'll give us a little bit different feel. And, hopefully that'll help us going into the Big 12s.
And I know you're, obviously still want team success, but as you get to the individual in the postseason and trying to get the NCAAs, how important is it to kind of shift their mindset a little bit?
Yeah, for our sport, it's unique because it's an individual sport with a team component. But the better the individual does, the better the team does. And that's not the same in team sports, where someone can go out and score a bunch of points, but maybe the team doesn't do as well. It's different in wrestling. So these guys have been focused on themselves, obviously trying to improve themselves to win a national championship. So, and while they're doing that, they help the team win. So, but we need a tournament just to get a little bit different feel.
What have you seen, from looking strictly at 133 and Ryan Sullivan's performance lately? What is it about him that kind of, once he did sort of get the conditioning and the weight aspects under control and break into the starting lineup, he's kind of been on fire, winning the last 4 matches, 3 of them ranked ones, to just kind of surge into the rankings this week. What is it about him that kind of, did you see that sort of strong out of the gate performance coming, or what is it that's allowed him to just kind of put together a nice little run to start his WVU career?
To answer your question, yes, we saw it. We saw it his junior year in high school. We recruited Ryan and he chose Pitt. Then he transferred and, he did come in a little heavy into the season. But the talent's been there, and really he just brings a different level of energy. He's a hyper, he's a high energy wrestler, and it's helping our team, I think. So it's been a big bonus to our lineup, but we saw it years ago. It's just kind of getting it all, put together.
And sort of to follow up on that question really quickly, you mentioned earlier in the year that your kind of philosophy, especially with such a young team, is that it doesn't matter what year in school you are, you can win now. So when you see things like that and looking at the rankings where you have 2 freshmen, a true freshman and a redshirt freshman, top 20 in the country or top 25 in the country, is that something you sort of use in the practice room a little bit to reinforce that point, to show maybe some other younger guys that could be struggling, you can do this? Well, this is sort of the truth to what I was saying before.
For sure. And even more so, these kids, they're on their phones, they're on the internet, they see the rankings, and I think it's just good for our team. They see it. They know that Ryan Sullivan's ranked whatever way before I ever see it. So I think it's good that they see, hey, this kid's working hard, and he, he's already risen this far. Why can't I be that guy? In 2 or 3 weeks, why can't I be top 10 in the country? And they can. It takes one good weekend or 2 good weekends, and you kind of change your spot.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Following up on that a little bit, Coach, a lot of coaches.
I'll follow up with that one, I guess. So in terms of preparation, as Kevin mentioned, this weekend's going to look a little different. Oops, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
Speaking of rankings, a lot of coaches don't put a lot of emphasis on them, but it sounds like that's a little bit of a motivating factor to you. Is that a balance for you? Hey, we want to be good. We want to work our way up the ladder, but on the other side, don't get caught up in that too much. Just keep on your improvement track.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, your ranking doesn't matter when you step on the mat. You've got to, you still have to win. But on the other hand, it's like, yeah, we want to finish number 1. So that, I think it's good that they want to climb the ladder. That said, I'm not a slave to the rankings. I'm not studying them. I'm not, I don't wait for them to come out. Noah Adams lost a match, whether he's ranked number 1 or not, I feel he's the best guy in the country. So when he competes well, I think he has a chance to win the national championship. And that's true whether he's ranked number 1 or number 100. And so on, looking at it that way, it doesn't matter. But certainly these kids want to say, hey, I knocked off this guy and I knocked off this guy. And I want them to have a list, of guys that, hey, I got to whip these guys. So, I guess you use it both ways.
We'll go back to you, Chris.
From a preparation standpoint, heading into the Cowboy Challenge, what's the difference, or are you approaching it any different? I know at the end of the day it is wrestling, but it is a different format, and it's going to be something similar to what the guys are going to see pretty much from this point of the season forward. So is there any difference in the room in terms of preparation or how you're approaching it, especially with such a young lineup that may not be used to this type of format?
No, we won't approach it any differently. You're going to, whether we had 2 duels out there or 2 or 3 matches, individually, you've got to get yourself prepared when your match is coming up. It is maybe slightly different because you'll have to warm up, at different times. Maybe I'll be over on mat, if there's 2 or 3 mats, I'll be on one mat and they'll be over in the corner warming up, just to get that tournament feel. But remember, these kids have wrestled their whole lives. So this isn't anything new. So we're just excited. I like them both. I like the tournaments and I like the dual meets. So, but this is our first tournament, and I think we're all excited. We're more, focused on. There's so many factors going into things like your travel and when you're going to work out. We want to get 2 workouts in the day before, but we're flying out early Saturday, and those are the things we're more concerned about than the actual match day. Match day, they're going to wrestle 2 or 3 matches. We're trying to make sure our preparation and the lead up is as good as it can be.
I guess sort of to quickly follow up on that, can you speak to WVU's in a unique position in being in the Big 12, and that they're in a different part of the country than a lot of their competitors, and your travel is far more advanced than a lot of other teams within the Big 12. So how do you handle that, not even just for this particular weekend coming up, but just as an entire season, just knowing that you're going to have a lot more travel and there's going to be more emphasis on that for you than other teams in the conference?
Yeah, I mean, you certainly can make it more ideal by, if you can pick your actual times. I mean, in a perfect world, we want to work out here, then go catch a flight, and then maybe get a second workout in when you get to the hotel at night. But that doesn't always happen, especially now with maybe, I don't know if it's more limited flights or budgets or, there's just always all these factors. So we just try to keep the guys, it is what it is. It's like when you get like super tough and super mentally tough, none of it matters, so, and you get used to it. These kids are already used to it. The guys that have been in the lineup for a year or two. So I don't think it's the biggest deal.
Any other questions? All right, guys, thanks for joining.
One final.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks, guys.
I guess,
Chris, did you have one more?
yeah, one final question. Sorry, I think I'm on a little bit of a delay here, but at 141 and 149 this past weekend, it seems that they've been struggling a little bit offensively from how they started the beginning of the season. They were, putting up a little bit more points. Do you think that could just be that they're young and it's sort of the mid-season to later season woes, or what do you think is a little bit behind that?
Yeah, you've noticed what we've noticed. Yeah, we're not scoring points at those weight classes. I think the effort is there. We just got to find ways to score and change pace. It seems like they're getting tied up, and especially Jeff's getting tied up in these. He can't get off a shot. And whereas at the beginning of the year, he was getting in on the legs of everybody and really pushing the pace. So, there's a lot of factors, like you said, a mid-season woe kind of it hasn't been the longest season, but we've been training a while, as I said, I think last week, we've been training since, September. So sometimes you just have these fluctuations and, we're hoping that, this week, we're freshening them up and trying to train them, just perfectly this week, so they have a little more pop. And I think that's a key. They haven't had that extra like jolt that they normally might have. So, we expect them to get it back this weekend.